Good morning, judges. My name is Anisha Gupta.
My name is Shreya Jain, and our project for the NGN competition this year is our Noble Nanos Company oil spill cleanup procedure.
An environmentally friendly, effective, and cost-efficient cleaning procedure for oil spills developed using the laws of nanotechnology and magnetism.
For our STEM project, we are targeting NGN goals 2 and 15, and we would like your judges to act as a role of investors who can provide necessary funding to implement this procedure in the real world.
Here's a brief overview of the components we will be covering in our pitch today.
We have always taken measures to be environmentally cautious. However, coming from Plano, Texas, and living by the Gulf, we've experienced the detriments of oil spills firsthand. We tend to think of catastrophes such as oil spills as accidents, but when are such occurrences inevitable rather than accidental? And when does a consistent pattern of inevitable disasters point to a crisis? These words by Murray Bookchin describe the vast impact oil spills have on an area's condition and prove that this is an issue that requires immediate action.
While our world as we know it today is plagued with multiple environmental threats, one of the biggest concerns that burdens us is oil spills. Oil spills are primarily caused by storage leaks, the breakdown of equipment, and natural disasters. The EPA's standard oil spill response using dispersing agents have turned out to be quite dangerous. Policy has failed to address the issue of oil spills as well. The Trump admin removed regulations on oil spill response, and this was followed by the issuance of 1,700 waivers that said the admin was bearing unnecessary burdens. Yet, as a Washington Post article states, in the decades since the spill, not much has changed. Oil spills and dispersants cause significant detriments to marine life, animals, vegetation, and to humans, destroying their habitat, health, and well being.
Now we will dive deeper into the most common current method for oil spill cleanup, dispersants, and how detrimental they are. Dispersants are chemicals that are sprayed on a surface oil slick in very large amounts to break down the oil into smaller droplets. Two common dispersants are Corexit 9500A and 9527A. Dispersants do not reduce the amount of oil entering the environment, but push the effects of the spill underwater. While this makes the oil spill less visible, chemicals under the ocean surface are very hazardous for marine life. In the Gulf of Mexico BP oil spill, approximately 1.84 million gallons of dispersants were applied, with more than 1 million gallons on the surface and 177,000 gallons pumped deep into the water. This is extremely hazardous and does not constitute a sustainable solution to oil spills.
Harmful effects of dispersants affect a multitude of groups, however, most notably four. First, fish. Dispersants release harmful oil breakdown products into the water. This has been shown to be toxic to all fish at all life stages, according to laboratory studies. Second, coral. Dispersants in dispersed oil create increase coral death rates. Corexit 9527 prevents fertilization of eggs and hinders the development of reef building corals. Third, birds. Corexin 9527 damages the insulating properties of seabird feathers, making the birds susceptible to hypothermia. Dispersants have also shown to have toxic effects on bird eggs that are worse than effects from untreated oil. And finally, humans. Dispersants pose significant human health risk. Corexit 9527A, also used in the BP oil spill, contains the toxin 2-butoxyethanol, which can cause injury to red blood cells, kidney, or the liver, according to the manufacturer's SDS. Workers at the Exxon Valdez spill reportedly suffered significant health problems related to butoxyethanol.
Here's some key statistics that really help visualize how severely impactful oil spills are. More than 500,000 animals die each year from spills. On average, less than 25% of the oil is recovered per spill, and an average of over 2 million gallons of dispersants are used in a large spill. Seeing these numbers, we decided that it was necessary to come up with a solution for this damaging issue.
The Noble Nanos company has a simple, effective, and environmentally friendly solution to oil spills at sea. In our solution, water repellent ferrous nanoparticles are placed with the oil, which makes a thin cloak around the nanoparticles. A magnet can be used to rip through the cloak and attract the ferrous nanoparticles in the oil, thus separating the oil and ferrous nanoparticles from the water. Afterward, the nanoparticles can be magnetically removed from the oil and reused. We envision that the process will take place on an oil recovery vessel. For the purpose of our prototype, we used ferrofluid and a neodymium magnet. The baseline criteria that calls for incentive to invest in our company is environmental impact, cost efficiency, versatility, and scalability of our project.
Potential areas where our oil spill cleanup procedure could be very useful are major bodies of water that are susceptible to oil spills. In addition, we believe it is important to target industrial companies that are located near bodies of water and authorities from cities or governments who work in oil spill response. We believe this plan of action is beneficial to our business and will help spread and implement the use of the Noble Nanos method.
That being said, here are the results of the trials we conducted with the experiment. As you can see here, we conducted 3 different trials with the proposed cleanup procedure. As shown in these pictures, the amount of oil remaining is decreased as the more ferrofluid drops are added.
The trials we conducted each used a different amount of ferrofluid during the cleaning process. When 5 milliliters of ferrofluid was used, which is 2 times the amount of oil that was used, 70% of the oil was cleaned out of the water. This statistic is extremely significant, especially in regards to the real world. Currently, only about 10 to 15% of oil is recovered from spills. The rest of the oil remains in the water and poses a constant threat to the environment. However, with the Noble Nanos method, a much larger amount of oil can potentially be removed.
The efficiency of the method was later calculated through the 2 equations. As shown in the graph, the efficiency of the water increases as more ferrofluid drops are added. Our solution proved to be very efficient as up to 70% of the oil was removed after the procedure. This is important for real-world applications because it shows that if approximately 1,000 tons of oil is spilled into oceans each year, 2,000 tons of ferrofluid will be required to clean up to 70% of the oil, and thus a marine environment will have the potential of being preserved without the use of harmful chemicals.
To analyze our results as a whole, we have extracted some of the key findings. To start, the raw data shows that the amount of volume of motor oil remaining after the cleaning procedure decreases as more ferrofluid is added. This is beneficial because it means that a large amount of oil is being removed from only twice as much ferrofluid. In addition, our results show that there's a significant decrease in oil remaining between the control group, which did not receive the cleaning procedure, and the trials that did receive the cleaning procedure. And this ensures that the Noble Nano system is very effective.
Now that we have gone through our proposed solution, let's go through the financial module for this entire project. For market validation and certification, we expect to spend around $10,000. IP protection will also feed in and cost around $15,000. And finally, the equipment needed for the procedure to take place will cost around $50,000 per month. This will cover the electromagnetic cranes needed. And with all these costs added up, we will need around $40,000 in seed funding.
We have created a timeline of the most important steps we feel it is necessary for our business to take. For months 2 to 4, we will be working to validate every detail of our system and begin filing a patent for our idea. From months 6 to 10, we hope to be testing prototypes of our system on a real-world scale and making improvements to finalize the design. Finally, from month 12 to 18, we hope to implement the system in times of real oil spills.
The Noble Nanos company has also developed a market strategy to ensure cooperation with their procedure. Our strategy is to deal with both small and large-scale consumers, not limited to, but those that can provide supplies that we need. Large-scale consumers include making deals with clean energy companies by implementing distribution channels and overall presenting our plan to big companies. Small-scale consumers include shipping companies, city water maintenance companies, and more.
When creating a system, we know it's important to consider the existing solution and how we outrun them. Our biggest competitors are dispersants. To begin, the Noble Nanos method is the first of its kind. Using ferrous nanoparticles and the laws of magnetism to create an oil cleanup procedure is not something that has been done before. Additionally, the Noble Nanos is vastly more environmentally friendly and efficient than dispersants. Our method does not include the use of harmful chemicals, and it actually removes a lot of the oil from the environment. Lastly, our system is much more cost efficient than dispersants. Consider the BP oil spill. To clean 70% of the BP oil, the Noble Nanos method would cost around $20 billion. This is significantly less than the amount of the BP oil spill has cost up to date, which is $60 billion.
Our solution targets 3 key areas. First, our solution brings an effective, safe solution to clean up oil spills at sea.
Second, our solution is deemed to be very inexpensive compared to the standard oil spill response that the EPA uses.
And lastly, our solution is simple and time efficient.
On behalf of the Noble Nanos company, we feel that you should invest in our company in order to create cleaner oceans for marine and ensure safe environments for marine life and vegetation to prosper for decades. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our pitch.
Yeah, thank you so much. We sincerely hope you enjoyed and consider investing.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I will start with the first question. Have you done study on effects of ferrofluid on marine life?
Yeah, so we have considered the effects that ferrofluid may have on marine life, considering that there will be some amount of ferrofluid remaining after the cleanup procedure. We've researched using the SDS safety data sheet for ferrofluid offered by chemists, and we've seen no indication that ferrofluid would cause irritation to any skin type or will cause harm to animals at sea if remained in the water.
Okay, it can also be used to clean the birds affected by oil spills.
Yes, that's a possible solution as well. We could use ferrofluid to clean off oil left on birds as well.
So could you talk more about, you estimate the a 1/3 cost. Can you talk about what the actual volume and cost of a ferrofluid solution would be? How much of that is the cost of the actual ferrofluid versus the trolling and collecting?
So to calculate that value, first we took the results of our trial to estimate how much ferrofluid would needed to be clean up a certain amount of oil, and we found that it was 2 times the amount. And so we calculated our value of 20 billion by taking a standard price of ferrofluid, which is $40 for every 100 ml, and we scaled that up to figure out the amount that we would need for the BP oil spill. And we compared that price to the amount of money that it is cost up to date for them to clean the spill.
So did you say $40 for 100 milliliters?
Yes.
That sounds really expensive, right? And you say you need a 2-to-1 ratio of the amount of oil spilled. So you have an oil spill is on the order of, tens
It
of
is
thousands of
expensive,
gallons.
which is why it's $20 billion. But in comparison to how much dispersants cost and how little amount of oil they can clean, it's much more cost effective than the current solution.
How much do conventional dispersants cost, such as Corexit?
There's no available value of how much the individual dispersant costs, which is why we used a base value of how much the oil spill in general has cost the
The
government.
reason why we say this is unavailable, it's really unaccessible because in most oil spills, like for example, the BP oil spill, they don't just use one type of dispersant. They actually use many. As we've shown in the previous slide, it was between Corexit 9500A and Corexit 9527A. These were both used in the BP oil spill, and these were actually the most used in the BP oil spill. I doubt that these were the only ones. And the only way we could actually like calculate and base or like compare the cost of ferrofluid to dispersants is actually taking into consideration the entire oil spill and comparing it to the cost of ferrofluid. And we think this is a fair like comparison because we are only going to use ferrofluid for cleaning up that oil spill. And the current method uses a variety of dispersants, and apparently the cost of each dispersant is not available to us. So we just used what was available and made that comparison.
Let me ask one more follow-up question. $40,000 funding, and given like it costs $40 for 100 ml, so it looks like the cost you cited out where the funds are going to go doesn't actually include buying the ferrofluid itself for a significant cleanup. It is mostly to be able to set everything up so you can get that pipeline of acquiring the ferrofluid and use it as needed basis. So do you see yourself needing a lot more funding to actually facilitate a real effort?
The reason we didn't include the cost of the ferrofluid in our seed funding is because we believe that whichever government or city officials will be paying for the oil spill will be buying the ferrofluid, since we're the company that's implementing the procedure. And also, our plan is not going to take action for at least another year and a half. So we think it's more important to be concerned about the startup prices rather than the price of the ferrofluid, which we don't know how much we'll need right now. That's depending on the amount of oil that is spilled.
So the patent, I mean, just since we one last question, what is the uniqueness here in your idea? I don't know. Ferrofluid is not something you have created that exists out there. So the uniqueness is in using that to clean oil. What are you planning on patenting there?
Yeah, so our uniqueness behind our solution that we're trying to patent is just the whole idea in general, the method we're using to clean up the oil spill. Basically using ferrofluid to clean up the oil spill and manipulating those nanoparticles to that magnetic spectrum. We think that this is a very unique solution that hasn't been proposed before, and we feel like it does need a patent for the future.
Yeah, sure. I asked because it was $15,000 from your total costs of 40,000, so that's why. Thanks.
Yes, no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, one more thing, maybe if I can ask, the trials that you did, was it on ocean water or was it on regular water?
The trials were using seawater. We wanted to make it as realistic as we possibly could.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joshing.